Buying wood at home improvement centers. Here you see a guide that indicates the actual size versus the nominal size. The nominal size 2x4 is actually 1.5 by 3.5 inches. Okay, so we're at Home Depot and we're going to talk about how to select lumber. And this is lumber which has been processed, it's been put in a kiln, it's been cut to size. You can see this board is a 1 by 12, 1 by 12 inches wide, which really is 11.5 inches, and it's 8 feet long. 39 bucks, almost 40 bucks. We'll get one out that's similar. What do you notice about this board? Well, for one thing, there's no knots in it. This is clear pine. The other thing is, if we're going to pick a board, what we want to do is look down this line and see whether or not that's straight. That looks pretty good. A little bit of cup in there, but not bad at all. A little bit of bow. The other thing is you look along this edge to see if it's cupped upward or anything like that. This is a pretty good board. I would pick this board. But if it's cupped up or if it's bowed, that just makes it a lot more difficult to work with, because then I've got to accommodate that in how I put the lumber together for furniture. Okay, so now what we're talking about is boards with knots in them. Right? So, as you can see, the price is quite a bit different. The same board, 1 by 12 by 8, 26 bucks. 14 bucks difference in price. Would we pick this board? Well, if we don't mind knots, look along the length of the board. Tell me if you'd pick that one. I would not. There's way too much curvature in there. Look at that. It just waves back and forth. Part of that is because there's knots in the board. If you look along the edge is cupped up a little bit, not too bad, but I would never buy that board because I'd have to do all kinds of clamping and cutting and trying to make that fit. Okay. Okay, so the other thing we have is medium density fiber board. That's this. It comes in big sheets. What do you want right now? That happens to be 2 sheets glued together. I don't use this in furniture, although IKEA does, but this can be used for the top of a workbench if you choose to do it. It's not that bad a price for 2 boards tied together that are 4 by 8. In the prior segments, we talked about softwoods, namely pine. In this segment, we're talking about hardwoods. Here are some pictures of various hardwoods. Not all are available in home improvement stores. The other difference is that hardwoods are sold by the board foot. 1 board foot equals 12 inches by 12 inches by 1 inches, or 1/12 of a cubic foot. You can calculate the board feet if you wish by multiplying in inches the length times the width times the thickness and divide by 144. That gives you the number of board feet. Now we're talking about hardwood. This happens to be oak. It's a nice straight board. I would choose this board. The difference you have when you go to some place like Home Depot versus a lumber yard is the lumber yard will offer you boards that have not been faced, have not been planed down. This has already been planed down to 3/4 of an inch. It's normally called a 1-inch board, but as a result of them doing that work, you are paying more for this lumber. And they have very limited supply. This is all they have in terms of the hardwoods. They have oak. They claim to have some cherry, but they don't have any. They have some maple here, which you can see is a fairly limited supply, and then poplar. So if you want to get wood like maple, cherry, if you want to get anything that's exotic in terms of a figured wood, you have to go to another source. Okay, so the choice we have when we're dealing with hardwoods and all kinds of softwoods, we can also use plywood for our building projects. And in cabinetry, that's works out very nicely. Remember we talked about wood movement? There is none in plywood, so it's very useful for our purposes. And you can get it with a nice finish like this, which happens to be birch plywood that happens to be 1/2 inch thick. You can buy it in all kinds of different sheets, and it's just very useful when you want to make drawer bottoms, or if you want to put cabinetry together for the kitchen, anything like that. Relatively inexpensive. You can also get less expensive plywood, which looks like this. That's a cheaper wood. But if you're doing any kind of furniture, anything that's going to show, you want to have something that has a nice finish to it, like this does. Okay, prior to this, we've been talking about wood that's used inside. Both the pine, the knotty pine, the maple, the poplar, and the oak. This is pine wood that's been pressure treated with chemicals that prevent it from rotting, and it's used outside. This is a 2x4, and typically it's heavier because it's got all those chemicals on the inside. They've changed the use of this. It's much safer now, but anyway, that's a piece of wood that's available for your outside projects, like decks, things of that sort, lawn furniture. Okay, so in this last segment inside Home Depot, we just want to talk about 2x4s. 2x4s are common building material used in wall studs, uprights, things of that sort. You can see this is much different in terms of weight than the pressure treated wood. The thing you have to watch out for on these boards is how straight they are. This one's not bad. It's not cut too much. It's not bowed too much. But I still would not take it because it's a little bit too much. You can see that bowing in the board right there. So I really spend a lot of time picking the boards that I want to have. I get really fussy because if I don't, I spend way too much time putting my project together because I have to, cut the boards, trim the boards, plane the boards, do something to make them fit, which I wouldn't have to do if they were straight.